All right, so I'm going to talk about UX and UI guidelines built for BlackBerry applications. My name is Damian Borba, BlackBerry Developer Evangelist at BlackBerry. That's my Twitter handle. Any questions you have, please ask. If I don't have the answer, I'm going to find it internally, and that's one of the big things now. BlackBerry is extremely open, and you can always find answers for your questions. Just before we start, who here is a designer, mainly a designer? Okay. 3. And developers? All the others. And something else, like managers? Okay, good. Awesome. So I have good news for everyone, so I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And you can ask at any point. Just stop and ask me. Just a little bit about me. I'm a design freak. I love design. I graduated in industrial design, computer science, 2 different programs. So I had a lot of the findings in both scenarios, but I was so into design that I got to a point I was like getting super close to the screens to make sure that it was pixel perfect and everything was aligned, and that's how crazy I am about design. I taught UI design in California for over 3 years, and I worked for interactive agencies for around 15 years now. And I used to have my own agency before joining BlackBerry last year. When I was teaching, I started teaching at Platt College in San Diego. Then I moved to the Art Institute of California, always teaching design. And in the end, I was teaching at UCSD in San Diego. So a great place to be, and I learned a lot from designers and students. So if you have feedback and if you have opinions, please let's share. And I really want to learn from you as well. Okay, so the agenda. First of all, we're going to talk about BlackBerry 10 as a platform. Then we're going to talk about BlackBerry Flow. We're going to talk about Flow in general and BlackBerry Flow. What is a BFB application? We're going to go over the criteria in general, not only design-wise, but in general. And then how do you apply for it? That's super simple. Then we're going to go over some guidelines and not only the components, but also the visual guide. Who here saw the UI guidelines already on our website? Okay, good. That's a very good resource for your UI design. Then I'm going to give 4 steps to find the best flow for your applications, how you go when you need to plan your application. And then we open for questions and answers. So let's start with that. Is BlackBerry a good platform to target? I know you see the value now, especially because you're here. And we showed tons and tons of numbers yesterday that highlight that. But we have a very rich and it's a growing ecosystem of applications now with over 100,000 applications, 3 billion downloads, carrier billing. So in your app you can have in-app purchase, so it's all there. We have tons of samples, and for developers, it's literally copy and paste to get that working. The BlackBerry user, the BlackBerry people, we call BlackBerry people, that kind of user, they explore, they're constantly looking for new ways of becoming more productive, and they pay for applications. And it's very obvious. You can see, for example, Angry Birds is a lot more expensive in our platform than on iOS, and people buy it. So people that use BlackBerry devices, they buy applications. So it's a very good market. We have around 80 million global subscribers. You as a developer, even designer, you don't have to leave your comfort zone. If you know HTML5, if you know Air, if you know C++, we did the hard work to make your life easier as a developer. BBM is the most social platform out there. We have 60 million users. We saw the numbers, and that tends to grow with the new BBM format, especially going to other platforms in the middle of the year. And it's full of this, what we call mobile-first opportunities. So we are really looking for new ways of solving problems. So you can not only think mobile-first, but think maybe BlackBerry first. And if you understand all the principles behind the UI, the UX that was created for BlackBerry 10, you can create amazing things. I don't know if you guys were there in the JAM America's keynote in the afternoon, but Gary, the creator of BBM, showed an application called PitchRocket. You just create, it's for doing presentations. You just create the text. This is the title, this is the subtitle, this is the bullet points, and it does all the visual work for you. And that was created only because they forgot about everything they knew about presentations before planning that application. It was that approach that made that difference. So when you're creating mobile, this is the first tip I give. Forget about everything you know about what's in the desktop. Don't be biased by that. And in my opinion, that application was so well done that it makes PowerPoint look stupid. Because why do you need all those controls? Why do you need all... Some people are not that good in design, and you're creating all these extra steps that make life harder. All right, another point, profitability. It's a very profitable platform. That's from last year. And how much it costs to start developing for it. So you have all these amazing SDKs. You have HTML5, you have Cascades, native. You have Adobe Air as a runtime, and also the Android runtime. And it's zero. It's all free. The only portion we share revenue is when you sell an application. We keep 30% of it just to maintain our store, right? That's just to make it, to keep it working. Another point, very important, is it a relevant platform, right? So there's a study that says that 78% of developers who worry about revenue, they choose 2 or more platforms. And BlackBerry is there, number 3. And this is recent. This is from the beginning of the year, from Visual Mobile, a very nice study they did there. So it is a very interesting and full of opportunities platform. Now let's start talking about the pieces of it. And the main piece that I like to share is the flow. So if you understand this and how everything was built, you can forget about all that experience you have from the desktop world, and you can start creating applications with this new way of thinking. I was talking to some friends yesterday, and they were telling me that at Stanford they have this design school where they bring kids to test the prototypes and the UIs because they're not biased by anything. They're brand new, they're fresh, and that's a good way of doing it. So what is flow? Flow in general. So this is from Wikipedia. Flow is the mental state of operation in which a person performing an activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity. That's flow in general. Smartphones are becoming an extension of us, right? So you can, this is me. I don't go to the bathroom anymore without my phone, right? There's no like doing nothing time. That's all over, right? You're always doing something, and if you don't have your phone, you feel like, oh, something is wrong. It's really an extension of you. So a good example of this is schools, like especially the old models of schools. They tell students, in order to make this class better, let's turn off the phones. Let's shut down this extension of you, and that's wrong, right? That's not good. So if you can understand that, maybe as a teacher, you can use that in your benefit. You can use that to make a better class. Maybe do a quiz. Maybe make them search something on Google, and not remove that from them. So because that's really an extension of their bodies now. This is flow for BlackBerry. So when we acquired TAT, the Astonishing Tribe, they came up with this definition of flow, and this guided the process of developing the UI, and that's why it's so nice and so awesome now, so well done. Every single component is there for a reason. Every single gesture is there for a reason. And if you understand that, that will make your life super easy, because you can apply different gestures, different components based on the need. So for them, BlackBerry Flow is a seamless user experience which provides full control and flexibility in every moment and every touch. Flow keeps the momentum going so that user goals can be achieved quick and efficiently. So it's about putting the user in control. I don't know if you guys saw, like on the UI, you can, in a lot of places, you can control the full animation. Let's say, can I switch to the device for a second? for example, here in the hub, I can really tap on the bottom here to see the tabs there. But we really wanted to give user full control of it, so you can really do this, right? It's full control over the UI. Maybe you're reading an email, you're halfway down here, and then there's a new notification. You can just peek and see what's behind. Or you can hit the back button and go to the root and see what's there. Again, we're giving the users full control of the operating system. And with Z10, you can literally operate the entire phone with one thumb. Can I switch back to the presentation? Well, that's not it. Awesome. So I'd like to show you this short video. I don't know if you saw it. It's about keep moving in enterprise. So you're going to see that during the process, they have a lot of activities, and the device is acting in favor of the persons involved. It's not a barrier. It's helping them to go over the needs. You guys like it? Awesome. Yeah, so that's my message there is really that BlackBerry 10 was really built to keep you moving, and we're doing the hard work to make sure you can have this amazing flow in anything you do. And as a developer, if you have this built for BlackBerry stamp in your application, you have a lot of benefits. You have a special category in our store. I don't know if you saw in the keynote yesterday, the JAM America's keynote, but there's a developer that I think was 20% increase in sales just because it became a built for BlackBerry application. And it's not hard. It's not complex. It's just a specific way of steps to get there. So what is a built for BlackBerry application? So if you go to developer.blackberry.com/built for BlackBerry, you get all the criteria, all the steps. First of all, it needs to be done, it needs to be created. Your application needs to be created using a tool specifically for BlackBerry 10. So if you're using SDKs, it has to be Air or Native or WebWorks. So those are the three SDKs you have to build to create built for BlackBerry applications. You can still, let's say you're using WebWorks, which is our HTML5 way of packaging applications. You can still use PhoneGap, AppCelerator, but then you're going to have to spend more time analyzing your application. And as long as you follow the UI guidelines, that PDF that's on our website, you're good. What it can be a built for BlackBerry application. Android applications are not eligible. Web launchers, just like a button that launches a website. Simple apps, single function apps, they're not eligible to become there. Like the sound apps and all that, those simple apps, they don't qualify. Let's explore a little bit the criteria. What makes a built for BlackBerry app a built for BlackBerry app? First of all, the first thing that you have to do is user benefits. So when you plan your application, think about benefits and not features. Think about how more productive. We're going to spend some time in each one of how more productive your user can be because of that benefit. User experience, we're going to spend a lot of time here making sure we use the right components, we plan the right interactions. Performance, so we are going to test every single app in terms of performance. Service integration, so there's a list of services and you only have to have one. So it's super easy. It's not a very complex, but if you have one, you're good in that category. Security, same thing. We're going to go over and test your application. And localization, you have to have at least one of these languages, and we're going to go over all of them in a bit. And then you have games. Games is a different category. Normally they are full screen. They don't use, let's say, the Cascades components. It's a different scenario. So we have specific rules and guides for games. So let's go over the user benefits first. So the type of feedback, the type of inspection we're doing there is that we're looking for how special your application is, what kind of benefits the user is getting from it. Is it making the user more productive? Is it enriching communication in terms of, is it connected to BBM? Is it connected to Facebook? Is it easy for your users to communicate because of your app? Still on user experience, I have this quote that I always like to show my students when I was teaching at UCSD, is that Don Orman, this amazing designer, developer, he created a lot of things. One of the things was this book called The Design of Everyday Things. And this is it. All the aspects of how people use an interactive product, that's user experience. The way it feels in their hands, how well they understand how it works, how they feel about it while they're using it, how well it serves their purposes, and how well it fits into the entire context in which they are using it. And it has a lot to do with the same message I mentioned before, putting the user in control, right? Give that opportunity. Make sure you take advantage of the form factor. So you can have different scenarios, you can have different orientations, landscape, portrait, We have different devices. As of now, we have two main kinds of UIs. We have a 16 by 9, and we also have a squarey one there. So as of now, we have two devices. So we have the Z10, and that's the specs of the Z10. And we have the Q10 and also the Q5. They share the same pixel size. And what's nice about this is that if you understand, you can play nice applications. But look, the quality of rendering there is amazing. I was just seeing the other phones before the session. So the iPhone 5 is 326. So we have an amazing screen to work with. And an important thing here is that we did a lot of study, and for the human eye, there's a point that it doesn't make a difference if you have better quality, like more pixels rendered there. And this is pretty much the limit. So even if other manufacturers, they create better resolution displays, it doesn't matter. This is kind of the limit. And thinking about that, we are keeping only two main resolutions, the 16 by 9 and 720 by 720. So you, as a developer, you don't have to worry about, okay, now I have all this new phone, I have to change everything. No, it's only two scenarios, because we know it doesn't matter if it's more pixels there. Another very important thing in user experience is focus on content. So this is the camera app, and I could have a lot of things here. I could have a title bar, I could have so many things, but if you see, I have only 3 things, very small. I can see previous pictures here, I can change the camera, and I can see more here in these 3 dots, so I can explore. So all the focus is in the content, all the pixels are there available for the content, so make sure you take advantage of it. Same thing with gestures and flow, like we started talking about flow before, but this is the same thing. We have the system gestures, so we have to wake up the device, we go from the bottom here to display notifications like the peak, you do this. To access the hub, you do this. To minimize applications, you just throw it there. To bring the keyboard at any point, just use 2 fingers and throw it there from the bottom bezel here. But that's the system gesture. There's nothing your application can do. In terms of your application, make sure you take advantage of this. So if you see all the applications in BlackBerry 10, pretty much all of them, if you need to access the main, let's say, settings, the main menu of that application, especially the settings menu, it's always on the top. So if you swipe down here, you access the settings. So that's how you access the settings in your application. Or maybe you can switch views in your application with just a swipe. So in the middle of your screen, just swipe to the left, swipe to the right, and then you switch screens. This is that thing I showed you before. You can click on that tab on the left and drag, having full control of that transition. And to access more information, you type on those 3 dots, and that means there's more things there. Maybe not as relevant as of these 3 here. That's why it's a 4. So this is my main in terms of how you plan your UI. The way I do it, and the way a lot of people internally do it, is we list all the sections, all the features, I would say all the sections of our applications, and then we prioritize. So for example, in the BlackBerry Hub, what are the 2 most important actions the user can take? Is search and compose. That's the majority of cases, right? And all the other things are here. They're not as relevant as these 2 things here. So make sure you prioritize your content. So just list everything and prioritize. So you can choose what goes in the action bar, in this bar here, called action bar. If it's not that important, you can go on the left. If you tap here, you have access to more tabs, more information. And this is interesting. Do you know why it's in the middle and not on the top? What? Not only that, but does your thumb get there? So that's why it's in the middle, because you can access that. So make sure you place the most important information in the middle here. Easy with the easier access to from your thumb. Another thing we call context menu, and this is really nice. For example, can I switch back to the device? And this is true for all the applications. For example, my girlfriend, she has two numbers that I can call. I can tap on her face, and she's a favorite there, and call her. But if I click here, press and hold, now I access the context menu. Even better, if I just slide my finger there, I can call her a different number, the other number. Just by doing that and accessing I can do more things here. But let's say I want to call her a different number. I just release now, and I'm calling that second number. So make sure you take advantage of the context menu. Can I go back there? So that's why it's a 4. In this case, I'm pressing a picture here, and I'm accessing the context menu. If I slide my finger here, I'm going to, without releasing, I have access to everything there. So we are minimizing all the steps to do pretty much the same action. We also have the action menu. So those 3 dots here. So for all let's say this is a picture, I have more options. The most important one is share, but I have more options there. I have slideshow, I can rotate, add as wallpaper, and that's relevant to the thing that's being shown here. So make sure you use that in your applications as well. That's really powerful. I use that a lot. It's in regards of the main thing here. Make sure you provide feedback, right? This is really, really important. Make sure you use, let's say, you tap on something, you need to load content. Don't just leave a blank screen there. Put a spinner there. Make sure the user knows what's going on. Because if you do that, they feel themselves in control, and they trust your application. There's a lot of applications, especially on the desktop, that you use, but to be honest, I don't know half of what the application does, like PowerPoint. Who knows everything about PowerPoint? That is a complex thing, right? So I don't feel comfortable using PowerPoint. That's why I'm doing this in Keynote. So make sure you always provide feedback to your user. If you go to this link, you can see the main guidelines here. So cinematic experience, communication at its core. So for example, you have the hub, all those gestures. You can do everything right from the hub. You have a lot of things that we did. For example, you need to share a picture. Make sure you understand that you don't have to develop all that sharing process. You just invoke that card. We're going to talk about that in a bit, but you can just invoke a card that brings a camera, brings pieces of other applications. For example, if it's sharing, it tells you which application can share the picture or dock or anything. It's all there in the system. And it's really, really easy to implement. It's pretty much, let's say I want to share a picture. Every time I hit a button, in HTML5, it's like 3 lines. In Cascade, same thing, 4 or 5. It's super, super easy. Take advantage of it. All right, the other criteria, performance. We're going to test your applications, CPU usage, memory leaks, unnecessary traffic. So we're going to watch the network traffic that you have there. If you're using HTML5, for example, we have a great tool called Web Inspector, where you can see all the unused CSS, all the unused information from the network that's not being used, so you can remove all that. Battery, so make sure you really worry about battery. If you're using the GPS, there's no reason of updating all the time if you're not showing anything. If you're indoors, make sure you use other ways of capturing that. So think about that. Battery is a big thing. As of now, everything is easy, right? The nice UI, the other criteria. But this one is a big one. And you have so many options, and you just have to have one, at least one of this list here to qualify for a build for BlackBerry application. First one is payment, if you want to use payment. Another one is BBM, so it's really easy, again, because of all this APIs that we created to integrate your applications with BBM. You can change the status, you can invite other friends to download the application, and if you go to GitHub, you have a lot of samples that do that. It's literally copy and pasting. We mentioned this before. We have 60 million users. It's expanding. It's going to keep expanding when you have more platforms coming. And this data is really interesting. Only 2% of apps in BlackBerry world now are BBM connected. And they are responsible for 20% of the downloads. So having it in your application makes a big difference. Advertising, analytics. We have Flurry now, so that's going to be really awesome. Locate, again, this is if you're using, what is that? Oh, so, no, it's fine. I like birds. Okay, locate service, like I said, if you are indoors, make sure you have solutions to locate yourself. You can use Maps, you can use Google Maps and all the different map services. Push, if you want to use push notifications. Invocation framework. For all the applications I do, the first thing I implement in my applications is the invocation. So I can, for example, share a picture, I can share a dog, and that qualifies. If you have that piece, let's say you want to invite other friends to download. So you can create this amazing picture that lives on your device, and then you can use that to invite people to download your application. I do that all the time. It's invite to download. I have it here. Can I switch to the other? I'm going to get married next year, so I did this application to keep track of the guests. I'm not updating it. My fiancé is doing all the work. But you can see here, this is an HTML5 application, and I just added this invite to download. So in my device here, I have an image that I want to use as the main banner there. So when I hit there, this is all coming from the system. I just said, I want to share an image. And the system is giving me all these options. All these applications know how to share a picture. So I choose Facebook. Now it uses that picture I have. Hey, check this amazing application. Once I type a message, hey friends, download this, this is nice. Boom. It goes back to my application, and all this comes for free for us. So if you just have that, and we have tons and tons of samples of that, you qualify for the Build for BlackBerry in the service integration. Can I go back to that? Thank you. NFC, same thing. We're starting to see a lot of nice implementations and ideas of NFC, near field communication. So you can share contacts. You can even read and write in these very cheap tags you can have to do a lot of amazing things. Score loop, it's how you can make your games more social. So you have a lot of APIs for leaderboards, for rankings, and all these different things to make your games more social. And we have a lot of good documentation and samples on our website as well. Security, be good to your users. We're going to be checking on everything you're doing there. So make sure you don't use data, you don't send data without the user knowing you're doing that. We're going to analyze all that. And if you want, you can provide a privacy policy. Once you submit your application there, you can add that, and that's a good thing to have. Localization, you have to have at least one of these languages there. So English, French. So in order to become a Build for BlackBerry application, you have to have at least one there. And for different SDKs, you have different ways of implementing that. But again, you have tons and tons of samples there to help you. Games is a very specific one. So you can use very famous engines there to create a game, and those are the ones we currently accept. Because if you use a separate, it's not saying that you can't use a different one, but if you're using a different one, we're going to spend more time analyzing your application and inspecting it and all that. So games is a separate criteria there. We have this amazing checklist, so you can print for every app you have, and it's on the website. You can just check everything, and you can, okay, this is required, this is just one must apply, this is partially required. And if you go over this checklist, it makes your life a lot easier. It's on developer.blackberry.com/build for BlackBerry. So let's Just do a quick recap here. So user benefits, user experience, performance, service integration, security, localization. This is for all the applications. And game is that specific one that we just showed. Okay, so now you have your application. You meet our criteria. Now how can I how can I apply for it? So first of all, you become a vendor if you're not a vendor. If you're not a vendor yet, who here is not a vendor yet? Okay, some. If you need, send me an email with the email that you register as a vendor, and I can approve you. So you don't have to send all the docs and all that. Just send me an email, and I can approve you guys. Once you become a vendor, you can create a new product. Then you upload your release, right? You send your bar file there. Once it's approved, once your application goes for sale, in this area here, you're going to see the word apply. So once it's approved, you can apply for the Build for BlackBerry program. Just click there, and it's going to say pending, and that's it. After some time, if it's accepted, it's going to be displayed. It's going to have that a special place in our store. Let's say for some reason you did everything right, you don't agree with the decision, and it didn't get accepted. You can go back and go on appeals and tell us, please review it one more time. And you can do it one time. Or you can change everything and submit and reapply. So you have those two options. Any questions about the submission? And okay, good. All right, so now let's talk about the guidelines. Some things about components and some things about the visual style. And this is all part of the UI guidelines that you have available for free on our website. So this is the scenario you start with, right? So we want to give users the chance to be in control, the opportunity to be in control. We want them to operate the entire phone with one thumb, be very productive, be very active. But what happens if I place something that's hard to reach, right? That's a bad usage. We're forcing the user to maybe release the coffee mug there and then go to with the other hand. That's bad. So make sure you utilize more this here. I'm not saying you can't have things here, but make sure you take full advantage of all this area down here. So in terms of view, that's kind of where it is. So if you see here, you can access pretty much everything because your hand is here. You can access all that. This is the tabs. Very, very useful. Again, if I have a list of things that I need to, a list of sections that I have to have on my application, I can prioritize. I can. Okay, these are the 3 most important ones. All the others, they go here on the 3 dots. Is it clear for you guys, the 3 dots? What is it for? Awesome. And you can also take advantage, let's say you're working with the physical keyboard. You can take advantage of the shortcuts like you used to have in older BlackBerries. If I hit T here, it goes to the top on my list and all these different shortcuts. So make sure you take advantage of that as well. This is a good usage of the action bar here. So the main action here is sharing that picture. So the user just took that picture, and in this case, the main action is sharing. But of course, I can tap here and see all the other options I have there. This is another component. This is just to highlight the title bar. Maybe you have a big section and you want to highlight it. This blue rectangle is our title bar. Maybe you can have this switch up here to switch in between tabs. Again, the main focus is here, but you can have sub things here. It's going to be a little harder for the user to get there, but you can use that component. You can use dialogues, and this is part of the system, available for all the platforms. And you can have dialogues with buttons, with input information. You can have all that, just a warning. You can use the LED that we have there. You can change the color of it. Let's say your application, let's say it's Facebook. I could change that to be a blue every time something happens in my application because it's Facebook, to a blue color or other colors. There's a very nice sample for Cascades that does that. And it's super, super simple. I think it's just 2 lines of code. Always think about minimizing interruptions, right? So this is the picker. I could have it a button to set a time, a date, and then I could go to a different screen. But I can have it all in one screen, so that's why we did the picker this way. So once you tap there, it expands, it pushes all the content down, and you can select the date there. So think about that when you're creating your applications, minimizing interruptions. Same thing for the drop-down. This is a good thing. Do I need settings in my application? Our recommendation is if 80% of your users have the same preference, no. But if most users wouldn't set the same value, yes. That's a good use case that you can inspect. The settings, I mean, when you go to the top of your application, do a swipe down, and then you hit settings, right? You guys understand that, right? Are you guys still awake? You can use toasts. So toasts are these small rectangles that show up, stay there for you set the amount of time they stay there, and then they go away. Just like a quick confirmation, or it doesn't require interaction. You can also have toast with some action, like undo here. You save, if you tap here, it goes away, but you can also undo it. And it goes away in a certain amount of time. And it's super easy to implement for HTML5, for Air, and for Cascades. Those are the toasts. This is a dialog with one button. This is a list item. You can have a picture there. You can have a lot of things. This is the header of a list. Simple buttons. Input text, and you can have a placeholder text. Check boxes, radar buttons. And the radar buttons, I don't know if you noticed, but we're giving the user that moment of charm. If you tap on this one, that thing moves slide to the other one. It's not like a dry transition. You really see it going down. We call it moments of charm. Sliders. Okay, this is nice, the icons. So make sure when you create the icons, you really think about, this is the right resolution, 114 by 114. Make sure you take full advantage of it. So if you can use a squarey format, maybe, but think about that when you do like 114 by 114. These are the main formats that we recommend for icons, squares and circles. Of course, you can have a line, but it doesn't look that good for a user. And that's your business card, right? The icon is the business card of your application. Make sure you do something nice. Always think about having these nice margins. Don't go too close to the edges. And center the main content there. These are the main colors that we use in our applications. So maybe you can use those colors to create your components. These are different materials you can use. Just a recommendation. It can be plastic, it can be paper, metal, and gloss. I really like that. That's pretty. Okay, so now when the user minimizes your application, he enters this state called active frames, right? So the active frames, your application keeps running, and you can change that information. You can keep providing feedback to your user. And these are the recommendations. The sizing, so this is going to be used for the title. This is the height for the Z10 device. This is for the Q10 and Q5 device. It's all in the UI guidelines, so you can get there. More recommendations. Let's say you have a list. Make sure you have those sizes. So it really guides you. It's a very, very interesting and powerful guide. Same thing for the splash screen. Once you open your application, that's the first thing that opens. Make sure you have the main message here on the center, and the application name and the version. This is our recommendation. You can do it differently if you want. Follow this. It's going to match every single thing that we have in the platform, and the users are used to that. We have two main themes, the light theme and the dark theme, and you can have different icons there. Not saying you really can have different colors, but make sure you don't go too crazy because you want to keep it simple. When you create your icons, make sure you always provide some bleeding there to not go too close to the edges. When you create icons for your application, this is the recommended. Not too little, not too much, right? In order to test it, one thing that we recommend, and I used to do that a lot, you can just blur it and see how it looks. If you still understand what's happening there when it's blurry, that's a good icon. If it's too messy, no. If it's too little, no. Or you can go far from your device, and you can see it there. And that's the same way as well. For list items and all that, always use this corner here for your items. The attached one is a different one, but think about this format when you create your icons. For the same actions, the delete, close, and cancel, don't reinvent the wheel. The users are used to these icons. You can use them and reuse them in your applications. I don't know if you saw one thing. Can I switch to the device? Once you have, let's say I have a picture here. This is a picture. If I tap here, I have, in my context menu, I have these things here, but delete is far down here. So you can pin things to the bottom. They're not as important. They are important, but they're more dangerous, so make sure it's in a safe place. I really wanted to highlight that. Can I switch to the presentation? All right. Any questions on components? There are a lot more components, but those are the main ones. This is another recommendation we have, 4 steps for finding the BlackBerry Flow for your applications. So try to eliminate the barriers. Make sure you do good usage of the components, the picker, and all that. Make it easy. Maybe you can do the context menu to do the same thing I showed you with the call. Make sure you minimize the amount of clicks and amount of taps the user has to do. Put the user in control, because when you do that, the user feels comfortable. The user feels they trust you, and that's really, really important. Provide structure and focus. Remember the camera, it was very, very simple. One thing, the focus is on taking the picture at that moment. Don't distract the user with other stuff. Make sure you think about that. And provide good feedback. I just mentioned that because it really gives comfort and trust, and that's really important. Make it simple, make it easy to use. Just to finish, I have some nice recommendations that work a lot. So if you ask your father to take a picture of you, it's probably going to look like that, right? He really wants to take a picture of your shoes and everything. He wants to be like that super photographer. But real photographers, they do like this. So bring the content closer to the user. So make sure you take full advantage of that. Bring the content closer. Get closer to your user. Another thing that's important, make sure you take full advantage of the screen you have, the form factor you have. This was TAT in Sweden. They asked a designer, an intern designer, to create the new calculator, just the idea for the new calculator, and he did that. So you have these extra lines. I'm not saying it's bad, but he didn't take full advantage of it. So when we switched to the senior designer, he did that. So now he's taking full advantage of the form factor that you have, the display that you have. This is a nice one. Don't get too close, right? When you have your items there, this is bothering, right? It's not relaxing. This is bad. I have a sample of that. So they were planning to add this button here, and you see how close it is to this thing here? So give it some space. It looks a lot better when you have that space. So spacing is really, really important. Don't get too close because it bothers people. And then same thing with fonts. Don't use too much font, right? This is a mess. And the content is not close, like the image is not close. So a good solution is get closer to it, make a bigger image, use maybe 1 or max 2 or 3 fonts that match. There's a lot of documentation out there that if you go to, if you type typekit on Google now, you go to Adobe, and Adobe has this amazing thing called Typekit, and it recommends you what font matches to this one. It's like a social network of fonts, and you can use in your applications. That's a great, great tool. So to close the presentation, I just want to read this again. So keep that in mind when you do your applications, built for BlackBerry applications. BlackBerry Flow is a seamless user experience which provides full control and flexibility in every moment and every touch. Flow keeps the momentum going so that user goals can be achieved quick and efficiently. With that, thank you very much. Thank you. Questions? We have like 10 minutes for questions. Yes?
Is it possible to change the colors of like buttons or text fields or radio buttons or anything?
Yeah, you can change that if you want.
Does that go against any UI guidelines?
Yeah, again, maybe you can change the lines to match your theme. That's doable, but don't go too crazy, because in order to be a beautiful BlackBerry application, to get the special stamp there, then you have to follow.
Like our company's colors are red and black, so if we had radio buttons on there that were blue, it would kind of stand out against every other.
Mm-hmm.
If we changed that to red, would that go against guidelines? Or?
You can. My approach there would be using, maybe you can go light, or I don't know if you guys. Let me go back here. One more. This one. Maybe you can have the light or dark theme, but then you can have just like a subtle line in red or any other color.
Well, yeah,
that would pass.
Like the buttons, the radio, and the text box and all that.
I don't know, where was it? Let's see here. Buttons. Okay. Like that?
Yeah, like to make it that instead of the blue check mark, it's a red check.
Yeah, in HTML5, I don't think Cascades if it's possible, but in HTML5 you can do it right now. And I know they're providing that in Cascade, so you can provide instead of blue, a red theme, for sure. No, that one, that'll still qualify. Yeah. That's not a big, you just don't want to do like a different polygon for that. That's it. Any other questions? Yes? Like I said in the beginning, you can tell something is loading. You can tell using a toast that picture was saved. It's just that kind of feedback. Yeah, maybe we can have a. For all the applications, you can provide your email so they can provide feedback. Yeah. But it's not in the app. You don't want to. That's not a relevant button or anything, a section in your application, right? This is something specific. It doesn't go on the action bar, for example. Any other questions? Yes?
Is there any way to match that background color to your app's theme, or is that black?
It's everything in BlackBerry 10 is black. And again, you could change it, but what's the point, right? The users know how to use the device, so you want to make them comfortable using your application. Any other questions? Yes?
In the market, there's like Z10 and Q10 with two different resolutions. So say if in the app we have this one main menu, and we want to build two views, one for just specifically for Z10 and one for Q10. So this is a small resolution, we want to make everything more accessible. If it looks kind of inconsistent, does it get rejected?
Why is it inconsistent? Because if you're using Cascades or BBY for HTML5?
Right now, like you built it for the C10, and you don't really change anything. And previously, when you set ratios and stuff, it kind of compresses it. It just tries to re-render it to fit on a Q10, but it doesn't really look that nice on Q10.
It depends. It depends. If your application is mostly lists and pictures, it works. The problem is if it's a game, then it shrinks it. But
That's still okay, right? So if I
yeah, you would have
one for Z10, one for Q10.
would have two different apps. That's how it is. Or if you use Cascades, you can have the UI adapting to the UI, to the screen. One app, yeah. One app. Cascades does all the job for you. You don't have to do anything. Again, it only gets complicated when it's a game, for example, and you have a canvas, a blank canvas, and it's a 16 by 9 rectangle. Then it's going to do a weird job there. But if you have the logic, like Cascades and HTML5 does, you can adapt to different screens.
Because with iOS, you can really define the details. You can actually create two views, like one for one for a longer size, one for a shorter size, and you can exactly put where the elements are. But with Cascades, you have to measure up and stuff. It's not that convenient.
For example, the splash screen for our apps, for example, it's just a matter of having two images. For example, can I go back to? We have this HTML5 sample app here. Where is it? Built for Black. Oh, it's for example, this is the splash screen for that, right? If I'm opening that in the Qt10, if I just place an image there that's a square, the system will bring that image for the Qt10 instead of the rectangular one. So you can do that. And if it's BBY, for example, and Cascades does the same thing, if I rotate, oh, it's locked here. If I rotate, it adapts to that. So it does the work for you.
Well, yeah, with lists, like it's just one element. That's a job.
Yeah, but normally you're going to have a scroll. They adapt as well. Maybe the big thing is a scrollable area, and just you can have it differently. Yeah, it depends on your case. Maybe you don't have to have all those items in one list. Maybe you can have separate screens, taking advantage of it. Any other questions? Yes?
We're talking about the three buttons, the three dots buttons that you have on the right hand, and I think that some cases you use to put content that is not relevant or it's not important, not that important as you have in the other one. But in some other cases, you use it as an action button.
Yeah, let
Is
me.
there any recommendation there, or when we have to change from stacking up five things that are not important to an action button?
Yeah, like, can I switch back to the screen? What we recommend is really prioritize everything that you have to display at that moment, and it's your decision. Maybe you can define, okay, the user taps on this thing 80% of the time, so it has to be in the action bar. If not, it goes on that, we call it action menu on the right here. But this is relevant only to what's being displayed here at this moment. If it's in regard to the application as a whole, then you do the tab menu. That's this guy here. It's a little confusing, but did everyone understand that? Good. Awesome. Any other questions? We have time for one more. Yeah. If you use Cascades, you can drag and drop as well. For HTML5, no. Yeah, not really. And that's one thing we're working on, creating tools, visual tools to help developers get more productive, designers to get more productive. You can use Adobe Air, but you don't have the drag and drop. Yeah, you have to design everything from scratch, pretty much. Unless you use components. That's why components are so powerful. I think the big message here is, like, don't go crazy and try to reposition things. Right? Think about, read the UI guidelines. Every component is there for a reason, and that's the big message. Yes? Okay. But then you have to go to a different section. Let's say you hit albums, and then you go to a different section, and there you have a list of albums or something.
No, when I hit albums, I see a list of albums.
Okay.
And then can I use the right side menu, the navigation from the right,
To have like a tree? No, not really. No, it's only one list that shows up there. If you want sub things, you have to create a new view and then have that as the root of the new thing. But you cannot have on the context menu, you cannot have a tree. It's only a list. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so there are two things here. Let's say that's a great case. Let me go back to that picture. Let me see where it is. 1 second. Okay. So this is one thing. If I hold and press one picture, which would be an album, for example, I access information about that specific item. That's one thing. If I where is it? If I click here, this is a separate thing. This is a subsection of this whole thing here. But you understand the difference? It can be the same thing, but it's a little different. It's confusing, I know, but this is in regards of everything you can do about this item only. It's one item, and you can have some actions about this item. In the other case, you have a lot of items, and you can have actions about this specific item. Okay. In that case, I would select. Let's see. There's that top component. This one. No, not this. I'll get there 1 second. This one. So you display a list, but then you can filter by something up there. It's not as important as other things here. It's just like a filter for the whole list. Any other questions? Yes? The last one? Okay. Yeah, you can talk to them here. They're from Brazil and they're students, and they can help you. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you around.